Hello, good morning, and welcome to today's morning bulletin, where after Liverpool won 2-1 away at Aston Villa last night, we thought we'd have a bit of a chat about the match winner Sadio Mane and also the confirmed transfer of Erling Haaland to Manchester City. Sadio Mane, according to reports in Germany, is interesting Bayern Munich, with his contract, of course, set to enter its final year come the summer. And as you can see alongside me is David Lynch this morning. Let's start with last night first, David. Liverpool obviously came from behind for an important victory. We'll talk a little bit about the Fabinho injury in a second as well, but I suppose the obvious place to start really is that brilliant header from Sadio Mane, which proved, of course, to be the difference.
Yeah, another brilliant header at Villa Park. He's just absolutely deadly at the moment, isn't he? And I think it shows you really how important confidence is in football. I think because you look at the AFCON and him going away in the middle of the season, playing so much football this season, but he's come back and physically doesn't seem to be losing anything. Just seems to be right there, top form. And if anything, really, he's gone up a level because he's taken the confidence of actually winning the thing and really sort of used that. So, yeah, it really does sort of show how important that can be, because I think, when you compare him to Salah, who's maybe struggled a little bit and looked a little bit slightly off it since he's come back, it sort of says a lot about, what that can do for a footballer. So, yeah, another sort of top performance. Those, Klopp was singing his praises after, wasn't he? And rightly so. And just another crucial goal. And you just hope he can sort of ride that momentum now to the end of the season. 4 games left and hopefully a couple of big goals to come that can secure some trophies for Liverpool.
Yeah, absolutely. Mane, the match winner then. I think it was probably fair to say that Liverpool would have held talks with him in the summer. That was probably the plan for the last few months. I'm sure that probably hasn't changed if that was the case. And I suppose you can kind of see why Bayern might be interested. Links with Barcelona as well. They seem to want to put their name next to anyone that they can try and prove that they do have a bit of money ahead of the summer if they can. But I suppose it's just another reminder, isn't it, of what Sadio Mane can do, why he's important to this Liverpool team. And I suppose over the last few months, we've had quite a few of those reminders.
Yeah, it was kind of interesting that the links to Bayern sort of got shut down from their side fairly quickly, which suggests that his name is being used in some way and being put out there. Maybe that's to sort of, give Liverpool a nudge and get them to hurry up from the agent side. I'm not sure, but it's an interesting one. I mean, you could understand even if Bayern aren't the ones who are interested in him. I think a lot of top European clubs would be, because, he's at an age where previously we would have thought, oh, well, you're starting to get over the hill by that point, or you're reaching towards the end of your peak. But I think, these days that proved not to be the case with quite a few players now, isn't it? And you think, Sadio Mane, same with Mo Salah, really, is the way they keep themselves in shape and look after themselves. They've got a lot more years at the top of the game left, which is, very exciting if Liverpool can keep hold of him. I think that's, along with Salah, one of the main priorities for the summer. I think it's going to be interesting how that whole thing plays out in terms of, Salah, Firmino and Mane, who does end up getting the deals. But I think ideally they would at least keep 2 of the 3. And the 2 of the 3 are quite obvious, really, which ones they would be. And those 2, if they can get them tied down this summer, then that's it's massive, isn't it? Because, like I said, I think they've got a lot more big performances ahead of them, and could be mainstays for years to come still.
Yeah, you'd imagine that would be the priority, where City have obviously got their new signing in Erling Haaland that we'll go for and have a little bit of a chat about in a second. But just before we do that, I did want to mention a little quick one on the Fabinho injury. A little bit of a scare for Liverpool. Obviously, we don't know the exact extent of how long he's going to be out for yet, but I suppose you could call him maybe a doubt for the weekend. How big a blow do you think that would be for them in terms of the games that are coming up?
Yeah, a big one, really. I think, Jurgen Klopp seems pretty sort of upbeat about it in his press conference. So it said that, Fabinho made out that it wasn't too bad. And I think he just sort of brought him off as a precaution. But I think, anything muscular, you're thinking for the weekend is going to be a push, because, even if he has got away with just a little tweak or anything like that, that's going to settle down before the weekend, it'll still feel like a massive risk to play him, given what's ahead as well. I think, your priority at the moment he walks off is thinking, okay, well, can they keep him fit for the Champions League final, or get him fit for the Champions League final? So, anything before then will be a huge bonus. And if you did make the weekend and it wasn't a risk, that would be absolutely massive. I think the one thing we have got to say is I thought Jordan Henderson was very impressive when he came on. I think, some of Henderson's form this season has been a little bit up and down, but a lot of that has been playing in that number 8 position. I think when he comes in and he plays the number 6, I think he's really good. I think it really suits him at this stage of his career. And I've got no qualms about him coming in against Chelsea and doing that job. The other question, I suppose, will be what is in front of him, given that Keita seemed to get a bit of a knock before the end. So that's going to be an interesting one. But yeah, I think, a blow to lose Fabinho, but in Jordan Henderson got very capable sort of backup in that position. Hopefully he can, maybe come in against Chelsea and then we can get Fabinho back sort of shortly after that.
Yeah, absolutely. I thought Curtis Jones actually had a pretty good hour yesterday, considering he's not played for a number of weeks as well. But we shall see what happens with that. I'm sure we'll probably have an update on Fabinho at some point in the next couple of days. We'll keep you updated, of course, as and when we have that. But let's move on then to Erling Haaland, obviously confirmed to Manchester City yesterday. Lots and lots of talk around it. I suppose the first thing we've got to say is, it's a really good signing, isn't it? I think it's 29 goals in 28 games or something this season. The only thing that does stand out to me in that is that he's not played as much football this season as you might want when you're spending big money on a player.
Yeah, I mean, just difficult to deny that it's, like you say, an unbelievable signing, really. A player who is a phenomenal young player who's got so many years ahead of him playing at the top of the game. Absolutely no doubt about that. He's prolific, physically great. He's got the pace and everything, the personality as well, to the self-belief to be a top player. It makes you sort of wonder why City was so obsessed with getting Harry Kane last summer, because they wouldn't have got quite as much out of him, and I think Haaland made a lot more sense. So the fact that they ended up waiting has sort of worked in their favour, I think, because this is a signing that, like I say, can be there for years. As you mentioned, interesting one with the injuries. Coming to a new league and playing in a really sort of aggressive pressing style as Pep will want him to, that might take its toll. And I think some of that is the fact that he's a young player as well. I think players can suffer with some of these injuries when they're sort of still growing and the body's sort of still filling out a little bit. So maybe that will settle down. I think one of the other big questions about it is, what does it mean for Manchester City in terms of their setup? Because I think you look at them, they can't really score many more goals, can they? They can't probably get many more points in the Premier League either. So, the scope for improvement for them is sort of marginal. I think where it might be important for them is, can he just get them the scruffy goals that get them over the line in the Champions League? That's something they've sort of missed. They seem to always have to score the perfect tap in that they've worked 30 passes around. But if you can just get scruffy goals against, say, in that tie against Real Madrid, maybe that gets them over the line. I think in terms of the Premier League, you'd like to think from a Liverpool perspective, it won't make too much of a difference, won't move the dial too much. But yeah, I think for City, the main priority for them is, can he change things in Europe?
Yeah, already we've had pundits suggesting Liverpool need to sign Harry Kane to match it. We've had sort of next season being written off before this season's even finished. It all just is very much a knee-jerk reaction, isn't it? I suppose for Liverpool, the big thing this summer is that it's not going to change anything for them, is it? They're not going to do anything different to what they were going to do. It's just going to be a case of continuing what their plans were to begin with.
Well, that's it. And as I say, I think, it's not like Manchester City now going to get 114 points in the Premier League. It just isn't going to happen. So for Liverpool, they've got to go into every season thinking, okay, we've got to be a 90 plus points team to put ourselves in the mix and see where things land. Liverpool had already done quite a bit of business already in terms of getting Diaz in early in January. Fabio Carvalho's already sort of sorted out, isn't it? I think Calvin Ramsey won't be far behind him, and that's my understanding. I do think they're on the hunt for midfield reinforcements, which, if you were going to pick out one sort of small weakness in this squad, and very difficult to do so given what they've achieved this season. But I think if you were to do that, it would be in midfield. And I think that's an area Liverpool are already looking to strengthen. So, yeah, they won't be sort of too shaken by the Haaland thing. They won't, like I say, they won't think it'll move the dial too much in the Premier League. It's just a European thing that maybe it'll make a little bit of a difference. But for Liverpool, they're already focused. They've already got a plan. They already know whereabouts they need to be and what they need to do to improve. And the wheels are already turning in that, and the season's not even done yet.
Just to finish then, the other thing that I think stands out to me in terms of this deal, there seems to be a bit of a feeling that at some point Erling Haaland will go to Real Madrid. It seems like it's maybe not a stepping stone, maybe that's not quite the way to put it, but it does seem that Manchester City kind of know that at some point in 2, 3, 4 years' time, he is going to move on. They'll probably make a fair bit of a profit on the transfer fee, but I think that's interesting in itself, isn't it? The fact that they're prepared to kind of position themselves in that kind of role. They'll get him for maybe 3 or 4 seasons, but it kind of feels like one that, I suppose, he is a kind of Cristiano Ronaldo type player, if you like, in terms of maybe he'll go on and play in a few different leagues. He'll try a few different things. It doesn't feel like one where City have got him and they're going to keep him now for the next 10 years, maybe where they have with, say, a David Silva or Yaya Toure or big players like that in the past. It kind of feels like a little bit of a different one to me.
Well, I mean, that'd be quite nice for Liverpool if they don't have to face him in his absolute peak. For Manchester City, that'd be quite nice. And I suppose he's an interesting case, isn't he? He's a player who everyone's known is going to be a superstar for such a long time, and it's been this whole saga has been going on since back when he was at Salzburg about where he would end up. So maybe, I think from Manchester City's perspective, then sort of maybe they are willing to take the hit on that in terms of what that does reputationally to lose a player to Real Madrid, just to have these 3, 4, 5 years. What can he get out of him? Where he's already a top European level striker, isn't he? So, maybe they think that's worth it eventually. But yeah, for Liverpool, I think they've just got to look at it as, they can make their own improvements. This doesn't change things for them. And, they've just got to think they can still win titles while Haaland is here. And then hopefully, like you say, he'll move on to Real Madrid and they don't have to worry about him too much except for in the Champions League.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, in the more short term, shall we say, Manchester City, of course, playing Wolves tonight. If you can't face the agony of watching that in full, I'll be doing so. So if Wolves can do anything, there will be some content for you. And you don't have to watch it. You can just have a look at liverpool.com later on and see what happened if you wish. Plenty more stuff as well, of course, more Liverpool-centric directly as we move towards that FA Cup final. And fingers crossed, as Lynchy said earlier, Fabinho can be back for that one. For now, though, I think we'll leave it there. That will just about do us for this morning. We'll see you very soon.